What if I told you that the iconic image of death, cloaked and scythe in hand, might be one of history's greatest misconceptions? We picture a chilling figure in a black cloak, but who exactly is this entity? Is it a divine messenger, simply fulfilling a cosmic duty, or an ancient demon, ravenous for souls? Today, we're going to embark on a journey through centuries and cultures to separate truth from fiction. And I promise you, by the end of this video, your entire perception of the angel of death will be transformed forever. To truly grasp the origins of this enigmatic figure, we must delve deep into antiquity. Humanity has always feared death, attempting to give it a face, a tangible form. This was a way to cope with the profound fear of the unknown. The concept of a psychopomp, or a guide for souls, exists across countless cultures. Think of the Egyptian Anubis, for instance, or the Greek Charon. However, the most recognized depiction of the angel of death, as we know it, truly takes shape within the Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. And this is where things get considerably more intriguing. So let's delve into how the angel of death is perceived in different traditions. We'll start, perhaps, with one of the oldest Abrahamic religions, Judaism. And right away, an interesting point emerges. In Jewish texts, such as the Talmud and Midrash, there isn't one single canonical name for this entity. It's referred to by various names: Samael, Gabriel, and sometimes even Azrael, a name we'll encounter again in Islam. This variety of names already hints at a key idea. Its image is complex and multifaceted. But the most crucial idea to grasp is that the angel of death in Judaism is not an embodiment of evil. Far from it. Forget the malevolent demon hunting souls out of pure hatred. Here, it's more of a heavenly messenger, a kind of official who carries out the direct command of the Almighty. Its task is to take a person's soul when their time comes. No sooner, no later. Imagine it doesn't act of its own free will. It doesn't choose victims or delight in their suffering. It simply carries out an order. In some texts, it's described as a being entirely covered in eyes. This symbolizes that there's no escaping it when the time comes. There's also a very vivid, even eerie image describing its method. It's said that the angel of death stands at the head of the dying person's bed, with a sword in its hand. On the tip of this sword hangs a drop of gall. Upon seeing it, the person, in terror, opens their mouth, and this drop falls inside, leading to death. This is, of course, a metaphor, but it perfectly conveys the sense of fear and inevitability. But the most telling example, which forever distinguishes it from the image of a soulless monster, is the story of the death of the prophet Moses. When the angel of death appeared to him, Moses didn't simply resign himself. He began to argue with it, refused to leave, and even drove it away. This dialogue shows that even the greatest of people are subject to the universal law, but also that the angel of death is not a blind force. It is an entity one can speak with, one can object to. Ultimately, Moses does accept his fate, but dies not by the angel's hand, but from the kiss of God. Thus, in Jewish tradition, the angel of death is a necessary and unavoidable element of creation. It can be formidable and frightening, but it is not an enemy. It is simply part of the divine plan, the executor of the most challenging and sorrowful task in the universe. But what about Christianity? You'd think this is where our main character would truly shine. Yet, here awaits perhaps the biggest surprise. If you open the Bible and start searching for a character named Angel of Death, you won't find one. Yes, you heard that right. In the canonical text of Christianity, such a figure simply does not exist. Of course, the Bible does mention angels who bring destruction at God's command. For example, the angel who struck down the firstborn of Egypt during the Exodus, or the angel who decimated the Assyrian army. But these are always nameless executors of divine judgment, not a specific character holding the title Angel of Death. The only figure that remotely resembles what we're looking for is one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, described in the book of Revelation. His name is Death. He rides a pale horse, and Hades follows close behind. But this is not an angel. This is a far more abstract, primal, and formidable force, the very embodiment of the end. So where did this familiar image come from? The Grim Reaper, in his black hooded cloak, with an enormous scythe in hand. He emerged much later, in the culture of medieval Europe, and the primary reason for his appearance was the Black Death. Imagine 14th century Europe. The Black Death was devastating cities and villages, claiming millions of lives. Death was everywhere, an undeniable, everyday reality. People desperately tried to make sense of it, to give it a visual form. It was precisely then that the allegorical figure of a cloaked skeleton was born. And why the scythe? That too is a powerful symbol. The scythe is the tool of a harvester, gathering the crop. In this case, the harvest is human souls. This metaphor was universally understood by every peasant. The reaper is neither good nor evil. He simply does his work, cutting down the righteous and the sinners, the rich and the poor alike. The scythe levelled everyone in the face of death. So our famous Grim Reaper is not a biblical figure at all. He's a product of popular folklore, born from the fear of epidemics and art's attempt to grapple with a terrifying reality. He became a cultural phenomenon, firmly embedded in our consciousness over time, virtually displacing all other images of death. It's a striking example of how human culture itself creates powerful symbols to explain the most frightening phenomena in the world. Now let's shift our focus to Islamic culture, where things are far more concrete and clearly defined. While the figure of the angel of death in Christianity is somewhat ambiguous, in Islam, he holds a central and profoundly significant position. Here, he is known as Azrael, and he is no ordinary angel. Azrael is one of the 4 great archangels alongside Jibril, Gabriel, Mikael, Michael, and Israfil. His status is exceptionally high. His primary role, much like in Judaism, is to retrieve the souls of living beings at the precise moment ordained by the Almighty, not a second too early nor a second too late. In this regard, he is utterly impartial and relentless, merely carrying out the will of Allah. According to some traditions, the entire world is like a dish in his hand, from which he effortlessly takes whoever's time has come. But what's most intriguing, and what fundamentally distinguishes the Islamic perspective, is how he performs this task. His appearance and actions directly depend on the life a person has led, and this is where a significant divergence begins. For the righteous believers, Azrael appears in a beautiful, luminous and pleasant form. He and his assisting angels address the soul gently, promising it peace and the mercy of Allah. The process of the soul's retrieval is described as tender and painless. It's often likened to a drop of water smoothly flowing from the neck of a jar, or a hair effortlessly being pulled from dough. It is a peaceful and serene transition. However, for sinners and disbelievers, the picture is starkly different. To them, Azrael appears in a form that inspires unspeakable terror. He manifests as dark and formidable, his gaze and appearance paralyzed with fear. The soul is not gently extracted from the body, but rather forcibly torn out, inflicting unbearable suffering. This agonizing procedure is compared to a wet wool branch being dragged through a thorny bush, tearing and snagging on everything in its path. Thus, in Islam, the angel of death is not merely an executor. He is the first mirror of divine justice that the soul encounters. His appearance marks the very beginning of the recompense for deeds performed in earthly life. This is a very clear and unambiguous concept that leaves no room for doubt or misinterpretation. So let's finally turn our attention to the modern portrayal of the angel of death. How do we perceive this figure today in the 21st century? Today, one could say, the angel of death has taken on a life of its own, completely detached from ancient religious texts. Modern pop culture has seized this powerful image and reinterpreted it in hundreds of different ways, often morphing it into the complete antithesis of its original meaning. On the one hand, he still appears as the classic villain. In horror films, video games, and dark fantasy, he often emerges as a merciless killer, a demon, or an unstoppable force of destruction. This portrayal continues to tap into our primal fears of the unknown and the ultimate end. He's the perfect antagonist, precisely because he can never truly be defeated. But a far more interesting trend has emerged: the humanization and even domestication of death itself. Culture has begun to ask, what's it like to be death? What does he feel? Does he ever get tired of his eternal duties? This line of questioning has led to the appearance of entirely new, unexpected portrayals. Consider, for instance, the brilliant Terry Pratchett and his depiction of death in the Discworld series. No longer a fearsome Grim Reaper, Pratchett's death is a tall skeleton in a black robe who speaks in all caps, adores cats, tries to understand humans, and occasionally takes a vacation to go fishing. He's a philosopher and everyman wearied by eternity, and he elicits not fear from the reader, but rather sympathy and even genuine affection. Or take the film Meet Joe Black, where death, inhabiting the body of Brad Pitt, comes to Earth to experience human life and falls in love. From an omnipotent force, he transforms into a naive, curious, and remarkably vulnerable character. Such examples powerfully demonstrate just how much our perception of this figure has shifted. We attempt to tame the inherent fear of death through humour, irony, and romanticisation. By making death resemble us, complete with our weaknesses and emotions, we effectively strip it of its terrifying power over us. Ultimately, the modern angel of death is a true cultural chameleon. It can be anything, from a terrifying monster or a brooding gothic heartthrob to a whimsical comedic character or a profound philosopher. This image has become a blank canvas upon which every author paints their own unique relationship with life, its inevitable end, and what might lie beyond. And this is where the biggest, most astonishing twist in this entire story reveals itself. Our ingrained image of a grim, hooded, sinister demon? That's not the original source. Instead, it's a cultural layer that's accrued over centuries, born out of fear, epidemics, and popular superstitions. In most ancient religious texts, the angel of death is not inherently evil. It's simply a function, relentless, impartial, yet devoid of malice. This is a servant of a higher power, a celestial bureaucrat merely closing earthly accounts. This realization completely transforms our perception. It's no longer a story about a monster hunting us. Instead, it's about humanity's millennia-long struggle to comprehend and accept the inevitability of the end. The angel of death acts as a mirror, reflecting our own fears and hopes regarding life's greatest mystery. So, angel or demon? The answer, it turns out, is far more complex. He is neither, and yet, simultaneously, both. His image depends entirely on who is looking, when, and with what in their heart. Thank you for watching this video to the very end. If you found it intriguing and would like to delve deeper into such topics, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on more captivating stories. Now, a question for you. Which portrayal of the angel of death do you find most accurate or compelling? Perhaps your own culture has a unique guide or figure that ushers souls into the afterlife. Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd be genuinely interested to read them.